All right. This is the continuation of Adult Lab with Brother Yehiel Curry. We lost the signal inside the house, so we will carry on the show through my phone. Sorry for any inconvenience and anything that you missed, but all we're going to do, the only thing you missed was he was reading the prodigal son, the story, and he will read it again. So we're going to walk back in, and you will take up where you left off. Thank you.
You said one son was the bad son?
And the other one was
What made him bad?
because it said right here, it said, for all these years I've been working like a slave to you. I've never disobeyed your command, and yet you never even given me a young coat.
Okay, so you got one son who was bad, but the one you just read about, which one is that? Just from your own opinion, you know?
Which one is that?
So the pastor just told us there were two sons.
Right.
And so the one who's talking saying, I ain't never did anything wrong.
That's the good one.
Oh, okay. I just want to hear. And the other character is the father, right? I'm going to stop you there. Anybody else? What jumped out at you? Jacoby said, whatever I have is yours.
Can I add more context to this?
Let's see. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Based on the culture?
Yeah, we'll probably wrap that up toward the end. Anybody else? I'm going to read this again, guys. I want to know from you. This where you've been presenting at?
Mm-hmm. Hey, watch it on my shoulder.
Okay.
Can make you nervous?
Right. Let me present again. I'm gonna read for you again, and this time, what's our theme?
Removing the mask.
Removing the mask. I want you to think about in terms of masks. What are you hearing? We've identified three characters. And if anybody's wearing a mask or anything, I'm going to read it again and you're going to tell me what jumps out at you. Then Jesus said there was a man who had two sons. The younger of them said to his father, Father, give me the share of property that will belong to me. So he divided his property between them. A few days later, the younger son gathered all he had and traveled to a distant country. And there he squandered his property in dissolute living. When he had spent everything, a severe famine took place throughout the country, and he began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out to one of the citizens of that country, who sent him to a field to feed the pigs. He would gladly have filled himself with the pods that the pigs were eating, and no one gave him anything. But when he came to himself, he said, how many of my father's hired hands have bread enough to spare? But here I am dying of hunger. I will get up and go to my father, and I will say to him, Father, I sinned against you in heaven. I'm no longer worthy to be called your son. Treat me like one of the hired servants, if you like. So he set off, went to his father. But while he was still afar off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion. He ran and put his arms around him and kissed him. Then the son said to his father, Father, I sinned against you before heaven and before you. I'm no longer worthy to be called one of your sons. But his father said to his servants, quickly bring out a robe, the best one, and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. Get the fatted calf and kill it, and let us eat and celebrate. For this son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found. And they began to celebrate. Now his elder son was in the field. And when he began to approach the house, he heard music and dancing. He called out to one of the servants and he asked, "Hey, what's going on?" He replied, "Your brother has come home and your father has killed the fatted calf, the best calf, because he got him back safe and sound." Then he became angry and refused to go in. His father came out and began to plead with him. But he answered his father, "Listen, all these years, I've been working like one of your servants. I've never disobeyed your command. You have never even given me a young goat so that I might celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours came back, who has devoured your property with prostitutes, you killed the fatted calf for him?" And the father said, "Son, you're always with me. All that is mine is yours." What stuck out? What do you hear? Yep. Which one said that? And this is somebody else's terminology. You said, this one here said, "Give me half." Give me half of what? Of what? Yeah, so half of some future.
Yeah. You sure? Did you say son one or son two?
He said son too.
Oh, was it out here?
Yes.
Got me, but, the fact that the son who stayed felt like, I've done everything. Why haven't I been celebrated? Uncelebrated.
You want to help? You want to participate? What you hear? Anything? This discussion.
Mine is pretty much along the lines of that. Son who has returned, who basically done a bunch of things that shouldn't be allowed to be done in the family name, is being celebrated.
Now, that for me was the father. The way he described his son was coming back from the dead.
Mm-hmm.
So the son to the father, and at some point in time in the story, the son basically was dead to the father. And so, I mean, that for me, that kind of stuck out because that's a whole different mind state than the older son and the younger son. It's like he was dead.
He looks at, and I'm just going to go by the language you guys gave me, the bad son with different eyes. Thanks, Brother.
To piggyback on how Tim had said, I also thought that it was interesting that with the family that was going on, he thought his son was received dead because he had never worked for him. So the fact that the son came back to him, he didn't believe the Lord brought him back, and he said, "Go get the special fatted calf," which the way it was referred to as if it was being saved for some kind of ceremony. And he didn't believe that him coming back, quote unquote, from the dead, was being special enough that they would kill the fatted calf to appease the Lord for bringing back his son.
Very good. Okay. Were you done?
So this also kind of ties into there's some scriptures earlier where there was that separation and no recognition of the son being present. So his actions of saying, "Give me what's coming to me and I haven't earned it yet," caused the separation. So it was this mask of entitlement for the bad.
Yep.
I want to connect it to something you said about things. People come from jail, you know, like a big party, but people come from college. It's like, there's no party at all. They just come from college.
I bet you can give me a movie. Who come from jail and have a big party, and then there's the son who about to go to college, but he gets shot. Okay. All right. You know that was in the word. Boys in the hood is in the word. All right? I'm going to give you some context now so that when we read this story this third time, let's see if anything else jumps out different. I got my pastor here to back me up. Why does this son request what might be coming to me? Where does that come from?
Because they think his brother's dead. If he didn't go to the first one, they would have to come.
Okay, you're on to something. All right. So listen, scripturally, let's put ourselves doing a certain frame. I'm going to put you in a certain context. Whenever the father died, this was a patriarchal society. Means everything followed through the male. It was not a big deal to be able to say, give me what is due me later. So when the father died, everything will follow to the oldest son. There's this fallacy that believes that, like today, he just write a will and it was split amongst everyone. That's not the way it happened. To be able to go just a little bit deeper, God, not only did the property rights go through you, but you were responsible for taking care of your mom. And your sister. And so this brother, who clearly has to be the youngest, because it says to us what? The elder son.
Right.
In order for it to go to the younger son, something would have had to happen to the older son. And if something happens to the older son, just so I can demonstrate this, right? Stand up, AJ. So I'm married. I got a wife and 3 kids. If this is my brother, not only does the right pass to him, but so does my wife and my 3 kids. I want you to know how bold a request that is being asked of the younger son. Context. I want to be able to give you a context. So, who were they? What were their beliefs? What were their thoughts? Even in the context. So let's go, and I try to give you guys give some grace to some people. I'm going to even look at what we call the historical people. We typically have people in different faiths that end up here. But Jesus was a Jew. Everybody clear about that? How did they feel about it?
They wouldn't even touch it. They're not supposed to have anything to do with it. That's one of the things that always bothers me about the story.
All right, let's just write the context and then we're going to read it again. He was a Jew.
Well, we assume that the story is being told about a Jew. Jesus was a Jew, but the story he was telling didn't have to be about Jews.
Okay. Context. Pastor, you want to add anything contextually?
Yes. It's a shame and honor society.
Okay. You want to say more?
Yes. Based on a shame and honor society, if anyone defames the name of the Father had every right to throw him out.
So let's bring it contemporarily. We hear a lot of this with Muslims, right? Where if they feel like the sister has married someone, and not all Muslims, but some Orthodox, has married someone out of the family culture, it is whose responsibility to honor the father But it is the oldest son responsibility to go and bring honor back to the father. I'm just trying to give some context to that as we keep reading. You want to say more about shame and honor? Or if you could
keep going on shame and honor? Or
no, I just wanted to make sure you were done. I jumped in. Okay. So we want to be able to just give the context a little bit more. Now I'm going to read it again. I want to know what jumps out at you. All right? And then we're going to ask the questions that go along with this, which will lead us further in our discussion and how it relates to mass and things like that. One more time. Here we go. First of all, those of you who are reading this, I need to explain something. There's some words that are here that I'm saying different. Anybody notice? Yeah. What word am I saying different? There's a word that I keep saying different. Slave. I need you to understand without boring you that sometimes the word that is used in the Greek, there is something called indentured servitude where if Fire Tribe fights Imani Tribe and they're playing capture the flag, if you capture one of them, they become part of your team. In some cases, you lock them up, and at the end of the game, you got to free them again. So there was something called indentured servitude where you paid a debt, and that was it. This word slave for us, because of our history, we see it a certain way, and it's not necessarily what was meant in the Bible. So and whenever I'm dealing with children, I intentionally switch the word because when we hear it, we don't think about capturing the flag, where it's a period of time where there was a fight. Now, there were some cases, like in Old Testament, where what we're going through actually happened. But when I hear an example that's talking about what we call indentured servitude, that meant for a period of time and then you were free, I substitute. I want you to know about that. All right? I'm going to read it again. Then Jesus said, there was a man, he had two sons. The younger of them said to his father, Father, give me the share of the property that will belong to me. So he divided his property between them. A few days later, the younger son gathered all that he had and traveled to a distant country. And there he squandered his property in desolate living. When he had spent everything, a severe famine took place throughout the country, and he began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out to one of the citizens of that country, who sent him to the fields to feed the pigs. Now he would have gladly filled himself with the pods that the pigs were eating, and no one gave him anything. But when he came to himself, he said, how many of my father's hired hands have bread enough to spare, but here I am dying of hunger? I will get up and go to my father and say to him, look, I sinned against you in heaven. I'm no longer worthy to be called your son. Treat me like one of the hired hands. So he sets off, and he went to his father. But while he was still a far distance off, his father saw him. Filled with compassion, he ran out, put his arms around him, and kissed him. Then the son said to him, Father, listen, I sinned against you in heaven. I'm no longer worthy to be called your son. But the father said to his servant, quickly bring out a robe, the best one, and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. And get the fatted calf and kill it, and let us eat and celebrate, for this son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found. And they began to celebrate. Now his elder son was in the field, and when he came and approached the house, he heard music and replied, your brother has come. And he heard music, and dancing. He called to one of the servants and asked, what's going on? He replied, your brother has come home, and your father has killed the fatted calf. Because he got him back safe and sound. Then he became angry and refused to go in. His father came out to plead with him. He answered his father, listen, all these years, I've been working like a slave for you. I've never disobeyed your command, yet you have never given me even a goat so that I might celebrate with your friends. But when this son of yours came back, who has devoured your property with prostitutes, you killed the fat calf. And the father said to him, son, you are always with me. All that is mine is yours. Anything different before we go to the questions that jumped out at you this time? Having context and everything, yep.
After he squandered his inheritance, then the family.
Okay. After, let's see if we can relate that. Anybody know anybody who came into some money? Right? And it just seems like that when you come into some money, everything's well. We taking trips, we going off. But it seems like as soon as that money is gone, it seems like things just get worse. We call that stewardship. Your ability to take care of what you have. Simba is a form of stewardship. This is what we've been given and our ability to take care of it. But when you squander it, it seems like that's when the famine comes. Yes, sir.
The other thing, too, is the children were born with the right. Sight unseen, they were blessed. One son took his blessing. He didn't do it. He squandered it. Didn't necessarily deserve it, but it was his before he even had a chance to realize. So, for me, what stood out was understanding what's yours at my birth.
On into it, right? Very good. Very good. Yep.
I want to go back to him and what he said. To me, he didn't ask for his blessing. He asked for his inheritance. You see what I'm saying? He was lost. He was lost because he said, give me what's mine. But he didn't deserve it. See, and then when he worked, he said, I have sinned. When he talked about when he was in the field and he was feeding the pig and how he went back to his father, how he wanted to put himself in the pot to feed the pig. And then he said, you know what? I've seen that. Instead of asking for my blessing, I gotta ask for my inheritance. Because see, when we start realizing what God has, it's not a blessing, it's an inheritance. You gotta start asking for what's out, because God has already planned out what's ours already. It's not a blessing, it's an inheritance.
Very good. Same. Real good. Appreciate that.
Following up the great pastor.
That was a story I was
That's all right.
I noticed when he came to himself, when he was on the field, it was like it almost sounds as if he had amnesia. He came to himself. But then I got to ask the question, if it's a patriarchal society and he was the second son, he really didn't have nothing coming. That was a very bold. I mean, it's almost like he was prophetic. Give me what's mine. When everything that's yours is not yours until after your brother gets the lion's share.
Okay.
Also, along with that, after he came to himself and he came back from a distance, his father was able to recognize him. He saw who he actually was. While he was out there doing who knows what, ultimately found himself with slopping with the pig, he realized, this is not me.
Okay.
Let me go back to where I come from, strip myself of all of this that I thought was going to be good. And his father recognized him.
Good.
bring that around to today. Sometimes our young people don't understand that, and even us as parents, the word forgiveness, the ability to. Sometimes you don't get a second chance. You need to know that going out the gate. As brother said, you're born with faith. You have an inheritance. You go out there and squander it and act a fool and carry on, and then you want to come back and still be a part.
I want to hear from, after Hatem, anybody who has not responded. And then we're going to go through some of these questions. Yep.
When he came back, he wasn't even, he actually was coming back to receive nothing. He had put in his mind already that, hell, I did better as a servant in my father's house than I do live over here. So he basically had, in the system of himself, he was coming back small. Yeah, went through his thing. He came back small. He left big. He came back small.
I mean,
because his whole thing was, I sent to get heaven and you, and I just want to be back in your grace.
So forgiveness, sometimes people think, is a two-way street. It's something I personally don't believe. If you've offended me, you can't move on until you forgive. I think that's crazy. He's saying that. Somebody saying, you've offended me, and then people say, I need you to forgive me. For me to carry the hurt that you've done to me, that's my bad. It is up to me. I have to forgive for myself. My forgiveness, it's really about me. I can choose to carry that with me, or I can choose to say, whatever you did to me, whatever you did to yourself, I'm going to restore you the way you used to. I tend to talk about something else, about the person who comes back in hope of forgiveness, saying, I ain't even expecting it. Have you ever had somebody say, no, you got to forgive me. I need you. They come with this. They don't come with humility, but it's like, no, I want to be your best friend again. I want my job back. I want my place in the family. I want everything. This sense of humility without an expectation.
Jesus is giving in the parable to demonstrate the Father as the hero.
Yeah.
He's the main character in this narrative. And he is demonstrating the power of reconciliation.
We're going to deal with that when we deal with the roles in a second, but taking the understanding of what this actually is. It is a parable. It is to teach a lesson, and we got to figure out what is the lesson that needs to be taught. Thank you.
Become symbol literate.
So let's flip over.
Okay,
I'm trying not to. I want to end a certain way, so I want to make sure we stay in this moment for a second. I'm going to ask AJ, looking at the older son. First of all, I want you to answer this. Who do you identify with? The older son. The older son who said, look, I've been here. I've done everything you asked, yet you've had nothing from me. The older son's position, and this is me kind of talking about this, saying, look, the one who did wrong, every time that one comes to the house, you have a party for him or her. But I'm the one who's done it the right way. And you ain't did nothing for me. Or are you the younger son that says, hey, you only live once, give me what's coming now. Hey, look, I mess up, I just got to come back and apologize. I want to eliminate the father as an option. If you had to choose, older son or younger son? Younger son, you want to elaborate or not? Okay. Coach. Between the older son and the younger son, who do you identify with? Who do you say, okay, that's son of me? If you had to. If you had to choose one. Older son. Okay. Which one is that?
Younger or older?
The younger? The younger is the one who left, took the trip, or are you the one who said, no, I stayed here with you? And you're an only son, too. Are you an only son? Oh. Okay, you want to elaborate? And not who you would be, but if you just had to identify with one. Which one?
I think I would say the other son because
I want an I statement if you identify. I say the elder son because in my life, he is what they
right. That's what I'm saying. I'm similar because my younger brother. I have 4 brothers.
Okay.
I'm the middle brother. 2 older brothers, and younger brother. And most of my other brothers are not. I'm not trying to little. I'm in college. My dad, he doesn't really do a lot of stuff. He does nothing. I feel like they need him more. So I feel like maybe that's the reason why I feel like the other son, because I think sometimes I'm overlooked as far as things needed. I've already got a lot accomplished. So I feel like I'm spending more time with my other brothers than myself.
So I'm going to pause there. Don't move. I'm in the role. In other words, I'm pretending. I'm about to intentionally be agitation. You know what I mean when I say that? I'm about to play this role because of what you just said, but this ain't who I really am or what I really feel. The older son would have said that. I don't need him for my father. We always give his time to, I'm going to do whatever I need. I'm going to college. They need him. He need him. But then at the party, I would suggest that maybe what the younger son was saying was that a mask? Was that a mask that I found myself wearing to say, I really don't need the attention? What's going on with that older son sitting outside of the party? I would suggest to you, this is me and only me saying, you ain't got to take it, that the reason the older son found himself stuck and not able to enjoy life was because the older son realized, now this is me taking a parable to a place that maybe Jesus didn't say, but he said that. Were you done? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, appreciate it. Who do you identify with, Rev? Older or young? Older son. You want to say why?
So much like a role played in my house. 2 boys and a mother, and I had to stay close by and take care of him while he went crazy.
Okay, very good. I'm coming around to all of y'all, but I believe that the presenter should also indict himself. I always was the oldest son. I'm the 7th of 11, 14 of 23. Long story, but in my house, I was that cat that always did the right thing. I like to use this example when it came to dating. Maybe y'all didn't go through this, but early on, it was like, you too nice. That's the dagger, ain't it? It's just, I was that dude. I was that dude. It just drove me crazy. Just the early years of my life, you too nice. Because I wanted to go to college and because, I was that guy. I'm not somebody who had this early sexual experience with the world. Mine came a little bit later in life. I was somebody who believed in AIDS and HIV and was scared as hell and just didn't lay down with anybody. And, that was me. I was just too nice. And so I identified with the older son because those other ones who needed more of mama's attention, they would just seem to mess up, get all F's on their report card, let them get a C, and they get to go skate. I I get all B's and get a C for the first time and I'm grounded. So that was me indicting myself before we continue. Sounds like you got something else before.
My mother, me and my younger brother, we tend to argue a lot because we're out of all my brothers, we're the only ones that are from both parents. So we got the same parents.
Which one? The youngest?
Yes, my younger brother, Marshawn. And we have a lot of disputes in the house. Over petty stuff. It happens. But when he brings it to my mother, sometimes it's like I know he's wrong. He did something wrong. But my mom, seeing him as the baby, you know what I'm saying, she always tends to lean towards his way. You the big brother, you should do this. You know what I'm saying? I'm always the wrong in the situation, no matter what happens. So I guess I kind of related that to that. Because in the end, I guess she feels like he needs to be more protected.
I think you were always on the edge, and I'm going to get you off. You'll say the right thing, then you come back and say what's comfortable. I guess it's cool. I don't get it. I don't understand it. This is what I'm feeling. This is a safe space where we can say, I don't feel right. I guess you feel too weak to be more protected. I don't care what your mama thinks. I care about what you feel in your heart. And as men, we got to take off that mask. I don't want you to go to the safe space. I want you to go where you just was. And yeah, this is another example. When it comes to me and my younger brother, I mean, for some reason, it's like, takes it aside. It's okay to say that. I just need you to know that. And you ain't got to go to that other state. I don't know what your mama think. I don't know what your daddy think. I don't even know what that guy think over there. I do know what you should have in your mouth and how you feel. If I agree, disagree, I got to honor. Does that make sense? I want you to live in that the rest of your time here at Temple. It's okay to say, here's what I'm feeling. And all right? And so every time I hear you go to that nice, what I call gray area, I guess this is what my mom thinks. But my dad probably thinks, he needs more than I'm going to mess with you. Because all we can deal with is what I'm feeling. All right? Make sense? Older, wow. You want to say it or no?
I mean, I always been, from dealing with my sister, dealing with my cousin, because the way our family structure was, my grandfather was basically the patriarch of the family, and my mom, we struggled. But when it came to really receiving stuff, I do all the right things, not this shit.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Not this shit. So, and I like to do that shit, but that's where it was. Excuse me.
No?
But yeah, I really, because I mean, even when I was reading this, I always identify with the younger dude. Man, why you won't even give me a damn thing? He said a goat. You won't even give me a goat. He gets the fattest. Man, dude, that pisses me off. You know what I'm saying? But then, like I said, I go back to that section. And my cousins need. But the fact of the matter is, that's very.
Thank you. I'm gonna come back to you. I'm still going to go. Older or younger?
Younger.
Why? You want to share?
I've always been the younger. On both sides, my mother and my father. So my father had about 10 kids. I was the last one. My mama had about 4. I was the last one. And ever since then, when I do something, my sister was telling me, if I should get a steel hoe for a car, she'll get grounded. She'll get a whooping. But when it came to me, I got plenty of C's and D's. I even got F's in high school, and everybody else, man, you let him slide a lot of stuff, get away. But actually, I kind of did need the attention after everything that went down. But now I feel like I just want, that's attention because I feel like I can try to, maintain my own stuff at the same time. I'm feeling my money.
Appreciate that. Jacoby, then.
First, I said the oldest one wouldn't have experienced this much of me trying to relate.
Mm-hmm.
But hearing how everybody elaborate, I was saying the youngest one, you know, I have an older brother, so I always was in that position of the youngest one. I would do stuff, and my one for him. So he always took the heat. I was living it. I wasn't feeling like he was feeling. He was had his my other brother can get together, but instead, it's always me. So.
I heard you tell a story one time on a Connecticut trip that cracked me up about going into a class at Hale and learning that there was time for a final exam, and everybody else was doing the work, and by the time you realize there was a final exam going on, so correct me if I'm wrong, you realize that they were taking the test and you thought you were waiting for instructions, and she said, you can come make it up, and you said, no, I'm going to take that out. I know your mom. Your oldest brother couldn't have said, no, I'm taking that out. I didn't blew that. So I agree with your reorganizing. There's no way your oldest brother could have been like at this Catholic school with a tuition. Oh no, teacher, I ain't coming back. Just give me that out. Wouldn't happen. Who you identify with, the older or the younger?
Yeah, older.
You want to say what?
Since I would have to be responsible, making sure that things are right. And also, I find myself not asking for things from my father, although I have the right to. And that's what I see with the older son. Him being there, he didn't feel like he had the right to ask for certain things, although he could ask for it any time because he was there and he was responsible.
It's kind of what I want to talk about earlier. Also, he was under the safety that maybe he didn't even realize. But you're lifting up something else that says that even if he wanted to, did he feel like he had the right? I think I have a daughter like that named who would never ask for the stuff us the younger. And when she does, she goes, I was worried about you guys' finances. Where my youngest is like, I don't care about, I need it. Very good. Appreciate that. Coming to you, then I'm coming to you.
I just got something real quick. I think it's like the older son may just have a sense of himself.
Yeah, the sense of unselfishness.
That's true at the end because you
So at the end, I think that's a great point. You would believe that until you hear about him saying, what's going on? You're having a party for your brother. He left home when he was 15, took $200,000. Well, he came back broke. He was sleeping with prostitutes. He blew all the money. Ended up working with pigs. So he come back. And you mean to tell me that one calf that he told us could nobody touch, that was for a special occasion, they roasted that calf. You talking about the robe that he said can't nobody touch, that's encased in plastic with security rope around. He put that robe on. He took the ring off his finger and put. Oh, I ain't going to that party by themselves. I'm sitting out here.
But hey, you can even take people with the black family. He didn't leave with 200,000. He stole somebody's 200,000 in the family.
But the dad gave it to him. Right. Who you identify with, the older or the younger son?
I identify with the younger son. I'm the only child. However, the way I grew up, all the gentlemen who were like uncle age were more like older brothers to me that were in my neighborhood. So I have a pseudo extended family where like all the guys across the street who were younger than my parents or me, we had a relationship where I was like younger brother because I had basketball. So these are all the kids that came to my house. You know, my dad would take them all and go buy an ice cream truck. So I said, I got everything, and based upon their family situation, I mean, more than just me.
Right. Older or younger? Wow. You want to say? You want to
Me having a big sister, two big brothers, like everything that I did, like I blame it.
And he smiled. Go ahead. Yeah, you the younger.
Like every time like I do something, a big sister did, every time I cursed, I learned from my big brother or something. So yeah, like, I feel the way they feel the way
You wanted to come to summer camp? You wanted to come to summer camp?
This time.
You wanted to come this time, right? A bunch of folks didn't want you to come because they knew you wanted to come, right? Because they looking at your last year and going, I know you ain't about to reward this boy. After he done just took the whole year and lost everything, right? Especially your sister, right? And she on her way to where? To college, right? So you the kid who just got out of prison. And he get a party at summer camp when I'm trying to struggle. What she got going on that they're struggling for? What is it called? What kind of party you have before? So let me get this straight.
What?
Trunk party. Trunk party is where you get all of this stuff. I want to bring the text home for you.
Yeah, you have a party for college students that go on the college.
You got one?
No. He's got a sister who been working really hard, and the issue with camp was if I send him to camp, then I won't have money to help go to college. So when I started working on this, I started feeling this energy like, wait a minute. Do you know what this boy's year's been like, and you going to let him go to Simba camp? We're going to throw a party for this boy. And we ain't figured out. So I get the tension with your sister. Because there's a lot of tension put around the answer, right? A lot. All of it. I'm glad you belong. I thank you for your honesty too.
I'm gonna identify with the older child, and like most of the men here stuff the need to do the right thing. It was always in the back of my head that I would take that doing the right thing was short. You didn't have to fuck your head, you know? But I also realized, and much like this second son, is that you don't always get rewarded.
And it don't feel good.
And it don't feel good.
Very good, very good. I want to thank all you guys. When I did this in nation builder training, almost everybody, what can I say, for the easy out is, can I just identify with the Father? I'm the Father. I see the good in everyone. All right? So I had to take it away from this group. So let's just all now focus on the older son. I've kind of hinted on it because there's some masks all over the story. What are some of the masks? Let's just name it. Is the older son wearing?
He wearing a mask because he felt like that, well, working for his father, but then he's not getting rewarded. But instead of doing the work for his father, he should have been doing the work out of his good stuff instead of
doing it because I want to do it, not because I'm trying to please.
Exactly.
So thank you. Very good. Yes.
I think it's not so much of a mask, it's a real because the mask is not working.
Okay. Mask, I'll take whatever analogy you want to work. What is it? What are some troubles? What am I asking is, what's some issues with the older son that the story tells us about that we get an inkling of? Say more.
So, if I'm doing the right thing, its attention should be my way. And because somebody comes back and realizes that they're wrong, doesn't mean that I have to acknowledge the fact that they.
It's not about that. I'm doing what's right. Everybody, you just do it this way. This is the way it's supposed to be done. When I'm teaching, I try and tell people, God don't give you more for doing the right thing. It just feels.
Like doing libation the way that you do it, but then somebody else comes to do it and say, oh, no, that's wrong. That's wrong.
And this is theologically problematic for preachers. But I believe in grace that says there's nothing you can do. If without God, we all wasting our time. So if we live our life based on I cannot do this, I have to live my life on it just feels good. that it is God's grace. God's grace that propels us. It is God coming to us. It is God being a part of us, not me doing everything right. I have to get to the point where it just feels good. And not that this. I got special. That older son, they get the law of the mansion in heaven. Everybody else, y'all be on the main floor. That's the time where I feel. Anybody else? What's problematic with the older son? Anything else? I think we've talked about it, about him being outside. Yeah? Go ahead.
It said like, it was like here when he said, when the father had said to him, you're always with me, all that is mine is yours. For me, I felt like that when he did that, at that time being, I'm going to the father now because none of that, you done gave the youngest what he died for, but now the other son is saying that, well, I've been working for you all these years, you never gave me anything but what mine is yours. Trying to put confidence on them because sometimes the oldest feel like they should never ask. They should never ask for anything. It's like it's their right.
Yeah.
I was going back before. It's about the inheritance. It's all about that. And I'm seeing here, if I'm trying to make them feel good,
And he's really not trying to make him feel good, Jonathan. What he's saying to him is, every day is a party. You just don't realize. Everything that I have is yours. How many of you guys woke up this morning safe? Anybody had to worry about somebody running to your cabin shooting? No? Everybody got a chance to eat breakfast this morning? Right? Uh-huh. So what the Father is saying is don't discount everything that you get to do under the covering. Every day's a part. It's when you step out. And you go out there where the danger is and you make it back. We're going to throw a party. So he's basically saying, I need you to realize what you have. All right? Good.
The brother secretly hates him. Now the party just brought it out, but he really had a dislike for the
He probably tried to make it seem like we were all cool, but some stuff is there. It's showing that he's wearing a mask. You know when you wear a mask? When there's a jumping party going on and you want to be in there, but you sit outside.
Because the way he described him, but then this son of yours.
I thank you for mentioning that. The last group mentioned it at training. He changed about how he even referenced his own. That's your son.
Right.
Not my brother. That's my step brother. That's my stepmom. When we start changing the phraseology, yet we try and convince everybody, oh no, we want to be happy. No, it's like bad. One problem with that.
Right.
Life. Right? So the mask that says, and it's okay. We're not connecting because of this. That's one thing. It's different to say, oh no, I want to be happy. This is my stepbrother. Everybody get it? Mm-hmm. Thank you for lifting that up. Anything else problematic with this older? Go ahead.
Unaware that we were in the mask. It's a kind of wake up call. Those were my mission. When I get back, we were in the mask. Some were always with me, always mind sure. To me, that was his wake up call.
Okay. Let's go to this younger son because I circled it and didn't want us to go through it to himself. What is going on? He came to himself. What's happening? AJ? It says that the younger son, what was he doing? Anybody? Just from memory. Try not to read it. He's feeding the pig. So he was doing the job that he didn't want to do because there was famine in the land, right? So there was a recession. So people couldn't get good jobs no more. So he took a job that he really didn't want to do. He had wasted his money, so there he is, working at the gas station. And the text tells us that while he working at the gas station, he came to himself. He finally took a look inward. So to come to himself is to, in essence, have a meeting with himself. He finally took the mask off and said, wait a minute. Do y'all know who my daddy is? Do y'all know who my daddy is? What am I doing here? The younger son had to have a meeting with himself, an internal meeting, on which he says, you know what? I'm going to go back. So to say that I'm going to go back says that he was wearing this mask. I don't care how bad it hurt. I can't go back. I can't look like a failure. I don't care. I ain't going back. How many of us do that? We done made the wrong decision, but somehow we think if I go back, then they're going to know I screwed up. If I go in the mid,
they're gonna think of me different.
They don't think of me different.
They're not gonna love me like that.
They're not gonna love me the way. So this younger son, I need you to know that would never ever had that moment had he not been feeding the pig. So I need you to know that sometimes your adversity, God allows it so that you can have an inward look at yourself and know what you really got. That ability to take off one's mask sometimes happens when the home life ain't straight. Parents are fighting. Can't figure out how to go to school.
And you're having you used to have a hard time with that. How is it that God can be so good and so mighty? And it was once put to me that sometimes God allows for you to easily think just trying to move you to a place. Sometimes you got to be uncomfortable. So you can get up and move. Sometimes you allow easy.
But
when you look at scripture, it's throughout, he always used crises, conflict, and urgency to fulfill his will. Every time he sees someone come into a crisis, it's during that time they start to move into a conflict, and all of a sudden, quickly urgency happens, and God's will is being manifested very well. And a perfect example of that in Genesis is Joseph. You know, he gets sold into slavery, he gets hated on by his brothers. The woman, Potiphar, the Egyptian woman, wants to sleep with him. He gets thrown in jail. But the bottom line is he goes through his prison experience and he gets promoted so that when famine comes, God uses him to bring provision for his family. And that's the same thing that I received.
thank you. Very good.
This is the process of rites of passage. That was the rites of passage for the son.
Separation first.
Initiation.
Yeah.
Because initiation is those that, because whether we talking biblically or we talking mythology, crisis, struggle, failure is the thing of either destruction or advancement. Without that confusion, like you said, he would have never had a meeting with himself if it was not for the adversity. The drug community call it hitting rock bottom. Oftentimes, in order for us to really take time to turn inside and have that conversation with ourselves, we got to hit that rock bottom. That's the initiation, reintroduction is when he came across that field and his daddy knew exactly who he was.
The younger son had an issue of dealing with rights, and the second son, the oldest son, had an issue of dealing with ritual. That's where you see the picture. One is living a lifestyle of right, and another one is living a lifestyle of ritual.
Was the father fair?
He was wild.
Why?
Just.
No. Okay. No, remember, we got to empower.
Right.
Whether you guys realize it or not, what I want to teach our young folks is how to engage scripture. And sometimes we can take the critical out of scripture. That's what I want to empower. So, okay. Okay.
I say no because I know how it feels to like be shunned by your brothers.
So, was the father fair, hot 10?
Nah, I'm not going.
No. I want you.
All right,
Don't lose. Don't lose.
Okay,
it,
no.
man.
The father was not fair.
Okay.
And I hate that term.
Okay.
Because that's a very hard to, and then, I mean, because it's like dealing with kids in the way that I deal with kids, there's no way I could treat every last one of them exactly alike. It's impossible. You know what I'm saying? Whether I'm suspending the kid because I had 2 kids doing the exact same thing. I'm going to bring it home in a second. I got 2 kids doing the exact same thing, different circumstances. How am I supposed to judge that, quote unquote, fair? Then I got kids at home. I can't treat Gigi like I treat Sasha because they 2 totally different people. You know what I'm saying? So
I think you and both of you guys clearly focused in on, I use the word fair on purpose. And I like his response of, no, yeah, with
mm-hmm.
I typically say that this is the political conversation that happens a lot of times. I used to hate being in school. Then we went to a kind of school where if you didn't wear your uniform, you spent the day in the gym. We had one family, they only had one outfit. And at some point, if that shirt wasn't dry, then he didn't have a school shirt. So do the kids stay home? Versus that family that had clearly 8 pair of pants and 8 shirts, and the person intentionally did not wear the uniform because they didn't want to go to class. They went to the gym. So fair is not always the ideal word. It is wisdom with the situation to get a certain result. So I like to say this word fair because with children, it brings up a lot. It just, they get to talking and we get to look at it. Yep.
I'll defer to John.
I want to say that the father was like I said, he had wisdom, but I wanted to talk about like the oldest son. It was like me last year. It was like I was working, but trying to get my nation buildership. And I was working, doing the same thing, but it was something I was missing. It's something that I was missing in between. I was manipulating the situation. And I've been here for about 5 years, and yet and still, this Simba Camp has been the most inspirational Simba Camp that I've ever had. And I mean, the way Simba Camp was, to me, to death. If I had been inspired by the immigration 4 years ago, then life would have been a little bit more better, because sometimes when we come to Simba, we forget the inspiration. We forget that everything that was here. And you work, but it's something that's missing. And until you find out what's missing, sometimes it can be removing the mask. You never know what it is. And I don't understand. And I know I'm wearing the mask, but I still don't fully understand what mask to remove, because sometimes the positive mask can be removed, but it can be hurt also. Sometimes it's difficult to understand. I really want to get the full understanding of removing the mask, because in order to remove the mask, you got to know what it is and fully understand it. And I want to thank the elders for bringing to me when they was talking, and I finally got to understand that story that I was in the hospital of a blessing in the marriage, asking and working. So
let me help Taiwan and our other guys. Something's different. I know how different it is, but the Fire Tribe, we produce what's called Junior Nation. So it's a competition. We're going to recognize at least one person at the end of this camp and say, we think you could be staff. They served 1 year as an apprentice, as Junior Nation builders, and most of them was in this tribe last year. It just means they weren't selected last year. I just need you to know, Jonathan, that sometimes it isn't anything that you're missing. Sometimes, in some cases, it's just not time. And so I give you credit for being able to come back. I just don't want you to think the big difference from last year and this year is that I didn't get something right. No, sometimes it's just we have life experiences and we come back and that it's just timing. So I think you did a wonderful job last year. You're doing a wonderful job this year.
Jesus is talking to Jewish religious leaders, and this narrative, in my mind, proves that the Father has never failed, but He's always fair. Because if the Father was fair, the Son would not get a part. The Son, He would give what's due to Him. He would receive His share. Right? But the second Son, the way He's speaking to His Father, and He would get what's due to Him as well.
Exactly. With
That's
disrespect.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right. So both of them would never get what's where the Father, who's being just, He's being gracious to both sons.
And understanding that even the older son got some stuff he's dealing with.
Right.
Because his language ain't right.
Right. At all.
At all. At the
all.
ending. I did. Somebody mentioned this. The Father sees with different eyes all of
Yes.
us.
Right.
Sees us for who we are. Thank you, Jonathan. Get that adult laugh and tell him he needs to get up. He said, I was praying for you. All right, no. Two things, and then we'll be able to kind of wrap up. And then from 12:30, let me put two adult lives. I know we haven't had time for that. Who's missing from the story? Who's missing? You said mother? Mm-hmm. Who's missing? Mother. Okay. Everybody just said mother. You said nobody's missing?
The prostitute.
Sorry, I tell you. You know.
I don't know where you're going with that question because for me it's different. There's a lot of people missing from this family with the sensibility and their roles and responsibilities.
Yeah. I like to ask it just because one of the things I'm more clear about as a married man is my maleness, and that this is a patriarchal society. So when he talked about contact, I said, Jesus understood who he was talking to. So you got to understand, when Jesus talked in parables, if he was in front of farmers, he talked about wheat. If he was in front of the religious elite, he talked more biblically. So he's clear about who he's in front of. So if he's in front of the woman at the well and some other, Jesus, remember, it is a parable. But if we were to take this in reality, there could be a mother or there could be a sister. Notice how the higher hand, even in its original wording, it is masculine. There's a way to write in Greek that doesn't give a gender. But they even give a gender in the writing in the original text. All right, so hypothetically, Tim used to do this thing about writing the end of your own story. I would like to work that. You know what I'm talking about? So some people have a hard time. If I'm doing this in front of ladies, they have a hard time. I'm doing it. So if you had to rewrite the story and you was the younger son, whether you realize it or not, most of the people on this couch talked about that. So now let's make it that you going to ask your mom, Mama, I know you got a life insurance policy. I need $50,000 now that I would get when you die. Or your daddy says yes, but let me talk to your mom. I love the workshop because it teaches us that we can, some of us have a preconditioned idea of how our story ends. And when he does that workshop, he teaches us how to write our own conclusion. So let's just do it even with the text. I want you to have some theological imagination. How would it end? How would the story end if I went to your mama and said, look, knows you got
True. True. Honestly. True. Nothing but.
What would your mama say? Yeah. Your mama would start out with a bunch of cursing words. Anybody?
My mama would be like, why you call that foolishness?
Sound like Melinda. Now get out of here with all that foolishness now. I ain't got time. Go call Yehiel or somebody else. I ain't got time for all that.
My mom would say, we got too many people in the house to take care of it. We might get that right. It's not a priority. First off, how do you know I got the money in the bank? Second off,
You've been going through my stuff. How you even know? I know you've been still. How you even know? Keep going.
second off, where you go, I didn't travel to see you. Then she didn't go on. Okay.
Anybody else? Why is that important? Why is it important for me to introduce the mother?
Because that's who we are.
So we take scripture and we try to interpret it to our lives, right? And in this text, it talks about the Father, who Jesus is clearly identifying as God and using as an example. Mm-hmm. But we can't bring it home because in most of our houses it's mama.
Mama God.
Can we agree that some kids, believe it or not, especially with fathers not in their lives, will take this story and have this ideal father. Maybe this never happened to you, but somebody whose father was murdered when I was 2. You always had this dream of my dad being a good, righteous dude who would be sitting there and saying, yeah, hell, I missed you. Sure you could. So we begin to paint a picture of who that man would be. And, you know, until you're 8 years old, you have this dream of him showing up in the Benz like, son, come. That's what I had. That's what I had, right? But when we start bringing it home and dealing with our realities of mama, how do I relate to this? I need for you to know whether it may feel difficult and they have a burden, but even in their strictness, they use wisdom. I know it ain't fair for everybody. But I need you to know that they look with different eyes. I know many of us are raised by our mother. And I need you to give the same grace that you've given to the Father. Some of us have even said before how Tim cleaned it up, he wasn't fair. Give that same grace to that mama who's in the house. It's easy in our maleness to go right to the Father, although they're not even in the house. And we done gave some grace to some men in our lives. That's why we've been in this Bible study going, okay, all right, I understand. Switch it to mama. I want to make sure that we understand that we wear masks with our mothers. That don't bother. I can't let it see me crying. You'll notice that in the text, sometimes I say, how many of us identify with the Father? And things like that. But then our mothers wear masks too. I didn't want to end this workshop without bringing it home to our house. I want us to give Mama the same grace we gave Father throughout this Bible study, throughout this learning, throughout this workshop. We take scriptures and we try and apply it to our lives. And for some of us to have an all-male scripture don't work. That's part of half of this. What are you thinking? What are you feeling? Whether we need to discuss more? Give me an idea. How you feeling? What's going on? Feeling check. We typically do that. Father attributes, recognition, looks at the bad son with different eyes, gets the best, transfer all of that. All right, yes, sir.
You brought up the issue of how would one's mother react. The first thought that nobody brought out was the fact that, let's say this life insurance policy. The life insurance policy represents the insurance to the mother on her own life. So if you are wanting to get a hold of that insurance interest, that gift that she intends to give you after she passes away, as a final gift to you, then you value the money as opposed to valuing her life. That's the first thing. That's the first reaction I always see my mom. Whether or not she gave the money subsequently is another issue. But you have to first do the fact that your actions on her by asking for that money when she takes a second look at it, he values the money.
Yeah, I think I'm a bad presenter because now that you broke it down, insurance policy is a bad example. Let's just.
I was trying to
No.
So you say that.
I'm clear now. That's a bad metaphor, but let's say that retirement money or money that they have already. So, but that's that. I thank you for lifting that up because
I don't know whether I wanted to bring that toss on the
No, I thank you.
That's like again, like I don't know.
Yeah, I can't use that again. That's a bad one. Money that's already have because you do to value that money. Then means to say I don't value your life. That is that.
You only have one or the other.
Right.
So I'm assuming in this case you're trying to she's got a whole life policy with value. So my whole mind is way out.
Right. Yeah, you don't went deeper than.
Yeah, I'm like,
go ahead.
Yeah, sorry.
But that's how it was with us when I had the father, because that's the father's whole life work. And you let that go down, you let your father down.
And so it's different with a policy. And what he was saying to me is that the only way you collect that is for someone to die. But if I got money in a bank right now and I'm retired and it's for my retirement and it's $200,000 and you asking for that money right now, that's different because I can continue living and give you that. That's what I took from that. So thank you for it. So guys, listen, the task of what I try and do with the older kids is take them a little deeper and have you guys thinking about what it means to wear a mask and how we can see masks not only in camp, in our tribes, but even in the scriptures, that in some of the examples we've been given, we could apply this principle of what it means to remove the mask. If you take nothing else, I need you to take from this, nothing happens until he comes to himself. Nothing in this story is affected until he comes to himself. Until he takes off the mask. So we can blame mama at home all we want. We can blame older brother, younger sister. We can blame teacher, counselor, pastor. Nothing happens until he comes to himself. All right? So that's what I want you guys to leave with. I want to say thank you. I do want to challenge you. Find your breaks. I know it's fired. You don't have a curfew. I know you get to hang out and be up all night. But this ain't gonna get it. Alright? It ain't gonna get it. You the best of the best. Some of you messing with your sock right now. Some of you guys have lowered yourselves tonight. Alright? Get your rest. There's a privilege to being up all night and being helpful. But you gotta make sure you got good stewardship of your time. When should I be in bed? Alright? So that when we are doing work, we're doing work. Okay?
Sure.
Okay, get some rest tonight, all right? Well, you guys, fire. I'm going to turn it over to Brother Hatim. I do want to spend some time with Tudo Live, because we don't have to be in here. We'll be outside.
No, I'm not the
Okay.
You stood up on fast. I ain't know what he's done now.
I'm good, guys. Give yourselves a round of applause.
This is Thursday's class. You know, like it's Thursday's class, so make sure y'all do the notes for Thursday.
Did you guys write out the poem thing?
Yeah.
So that means you all did your math?
I did mine.
I knew that they kind of moving you guys back and forth.
But now this is the issue, because on the schedule, it says that they in the adult lab are supposed to be shadowed, but then they can't shadow, and then
so it's
so they need
that's
to
something we put in from last year, because what the adult lab was saying last year was like we didn't even put a shadow in. They were doing more interviews and things like that. They said, we really want to be in the community. We want to be with the tribe. So here's what I want to suggest to you guys. That there is no tribe saying, where's my adult lab? That don't exist. This is about you getting what you need. But one of the critiques from the graduates of adult lab last year that's here is tell them to enjoy themselves. I need you guys to. This is supposed to be a little bit more rested for you versus them. So this is more reflective, and so I don't want you to feel like I was with this tribe yesterday. I need you to do all of this stuff. Make your math. Take your stuff with you. Go out your life. This is supposed to be rested. If you die and you just feel like, no, I'm going to go get me a couple hours, that is totally fine. As it relates to fire tribe, it's just, I think you get lucky. You guys get to do the same thing. Nothing has changed. If they're burning out,
what I'm saying is, on the schedule, at least in the workbook, it says they're supposed to shadow. So each one of them has a tribe with their system. So they should be able to run through their stuff with their tribe.
Okay.
But at the same time, we are scheduled on the thing. So after the 10 o'clock thing, my thing, I don't know what that one was doing. So I told them they're supposed to be with the tribe.
So where it says that you're supposed to be in art and things, I still need them to go, because I think he is planning on them working on it. Huh? But for this session that's after this one, I need you to go, because I think they're going to start you guys on the shows. So we looked at the schedule and we saw one is in art, one is in woodshop. I just need you to go check downstairs. I think Nakia wants you guys to start, or Chris wants you guys to start on going well? We're trying to teach them how to make their own simple shirts. Huh?
I'm still on this.
You're on a big t-shirt.
Oh, really? We could probably use your expertise. Then. Very good.
I wanted to say, pleasure being here. Being
And I've been to the school. I don't know if you know that. Yeah, I mean, so it's just with a lot of talk and a lot of I like what's happening there. So just wanted to just say, really big inspiration. We actually wrote a grant. We didn't get funded for it as a result of just seeing what the school money was like. And Columbus was one of the sites we picked, Chicago and Rockford, for Threshold. They sent small grants, but we were trying to get a bigger grant, just because we saw a school connection. It didn't happen that way, but I just want to say kudos to you. You guys know that before there was Yehiel, there was Taiwan. Y'all understand the story? Since you here, before we break up, why don't you give them your involvement in Simba and how you held the first website hostage for about... No, I was just playing. I just remember... I tell my always say, Taiwan got the code. This awesome graphic that we got for this website. That was your one. So I want you to receive Taiwan. Come on now.
I was thinking about it. What about it?
Okay, cool. That's cool. So we do it for everybody. Cool. Yeah. Cool. And so talk to me one more second about t-shirt business.
I believe that students, when they create their own work, they wear it, right? They'll carry that message. And we creating t-shirts and allowing them to create them and put their own message on it, they'll speak because they understand what they're creating.
Continue to spread that because so that's the vision why we brought the equipment down so the kids can make their own shirts. But everybody freaking out because they done messed up a bunch of shirts. And I'm just like, when kids make their own shirts, even if they mess it up.
But if they mess it up, they mess it up. You just have to be
Right. But we learn it too. So we got so that's good. Thank you, brother. We done. All right.
I don't know nothing about this whole shit.
What you?
If mine's messed up,
It will be messed up, brother. I tell him, can we do this thing? Can we? They need a tour. It's a pretty big campus. So what kind of tour? You in the car or what? Okay. Yeah. Tour? Is that what you getting in for? Mm-hmm. Yes. No. Maybe so. I hate to.
You know the t-shirt machine.
Why don't you walk them over there to where the kids at? I need you to know if they'll be breaking right about now. But you can go take them to those areas over there. And then maybe later we can get one of the cars and show you where everybody is right after you come from that area. You got a car?
Maybe we'll do it that way. We'll lunch.
Okay.
I'll speak at lunch and then after lunch.
Yeah, because then they'll go back into their activity at 2:30. Okay, cool. Cool. That'll work. It's 12, so they... I'm sorry, and yeah, some of them probably go to 12:30, but if they finish early, you know. Cool.
Which one is it?